Oh, good. They tuned us out so they don't hear
There we
us.
go.
Thanks. All right.
All right, everybody. Welcome to our February Friends of Snow Canyon event. My name is Barry Neff. I'm a member of the board of Friends of Snow Canyon. And we usually run these events about once a month during the winter time. This Zoom meeting is being recorded, so please mute your microphones now so you don't forget. If you want to speak or ask a question during the Q&A, hold down your space bar and you will be allowed to speak as long as you hold it down. When you release, it'll turn it off and you'll just automatically go back to mute. It's a lot easier way than doing it manually because we may not want to listen into your phone conversations. If you have any Zoom questions during the meeting, please use the chat button because that will come to me, I believe, or Lori. Use the chat button and I'll try to help you offline so we don't interrupt the meeting. So with that said, please enjoy the virtual birding tour of Snow Canyon. And I'm going to ask Lori Capshaw to introduce our guest speaker.
Hey folks, welcome. We're delighted that you can join us this evening. I am pleased to introduce Paul Jaussi. He's the president of the Red Cliffs Audubon Society, and he will guide us on a virtual tour of birds of Snow Canyon and Greater Zion. Welcome, Paul.
Well, thank you. Thank you for having me. I really enjoy talking about birding and the birds of this area. I'm new to this area, and I'll get into that here shortly. I'm going to share my screen. I just want to make sure everybody can see my presentation right now.
Yes.
Is that a thumbs up? Okay.
Yeah, I'm seeing it, Paul.
Great. And I will say every once in a while in any presentation, there's sometimes a question that is urgent or, you need to speak up. If it's okay, if you could just type it into the chat, maybe Lori, you could monitor the chat box and you can just jump in and, find a time, just interrupt and ask the question. I'd be happy to answer if it's a timely question, but absolutely,
Sure,
I'll be available at the end of the presentation to answer some questions. So I've given a similar presentation to this to the Audubon organization across the country. So it's kind of fun to just zoom down to just one area. I focus mostly on Greater Zion, but I had to modify this a bit for Snow Canyon, come down to just a smaller area. But I hope you find it interesting. Tonight, I just want to give a quick, here's our agenda. I just want to talk about the Red Cliffs Audubon. I want to also talk about why Greater Zion is great for birds. I think you'll be surprised at what you'll learn about the habitat for birds here in this area. Then we're going to go through and just kind of do a little tour of the birds that you can see in Snow Canyon. And I'll just briefly touch about what's the best way to start birding if you're interested. So Red Cliffs Audubon, our chapter area covers roughly these 7 counties in southwest Utah. There's 3 other chapters of the Audubon in Utah up north, and then at BYU there's a university chapter. So 5 total chapters here of the Audubon here in Utah. Most people know the Audubon as the national organization to preserve and protect birds. I think I skipped nope. Just going to give a little bit of background here for you. Map of the world here. There are at least 10,000 species of birds throughout the world. I put a plus here. They really don't know how many. They're constantly discovering, and they're always, every year they do it. They split birds. They say, well, we thought these were 1 species, now they're 2, or we thought they're 2 species, now they're 1. So it can be very complex, but roughly about 10,000 species of birds in the world. If we zoom down to just North America, we'll say the United States and Canada, not including Mexico, they recognize about 680 species of birds that breed, that come here and are residents of this of this geographic area. And what's amazing, the total number of species seen in this area is 990. So if you have 680 species that live here and we've seen 990, that means there's a lot of birds that are wandering around and get lost. If you're in Alaska, you get a lot of birds from Russia. I used to live in Oregon, and we get every once in a while you get these birds from Eurasia coming across. You run across and see them. There's something that's called the Big Year. It's an unofficial competition to see how many species of birds you can see in North America in one calendar year. Many of you may have seen this movie here. It's starring Jack Black, Steve Martin, Owen Wilson. It's called The Big Year. And it actually is the story of these three men. It's based on a true story of three guys chasing the Big Year record. Right now, that record is 839 species of birds in North America in a single year. And what that means is somebody is retired, has a lot of disposable income for plane tickets, and is able to jump on a plane instantly when a rare bird sighting occurs. Because if there's only 680 birds resident in the area, you've got to work to find 839 species in a single year. As I said, I'm from Oregon. I started birding 25 plus years ago, and I lived in Washington County, Oregon, just coincidentally. And in those 22 years, I saw 172 species of birds in Washington County, Oregon. This is my backyard. This is the Tualatin River National Wildlife Refuge. Tens of thousands of ducks and geese winter here. You can imagine it's a wetland. I'd go walking here all the time, just green, wet, just birds. 172 species in 22 years. When I moved to Greater Zion, Utah, or St. George, I had visions of this, a desert wasteland. I gave up. I was putting my birding hat on hold because I thought I'd see 20, 30 species max. In my first year, I saw 181 species of birds. I'm 4 years now. I've lived here 4 years. I've seen 241 species of birds in this county, in Washington County, Utah. So I've seen over 70 more species of birds in 4 years here in this area than I had in my home in Oregon in 22 years. That's phenomenal. I had no idea. So I started, what I should say, Washington County itself, there's been over 400 species of birds seen in this county, which is by far the most number of species of birds of any county in the state of Utah. So amazingly, this has the most biodiversity of any county in the state. So I'm just gonna, again, what makes birding here so great? Many of you may know this, it might be old, but I found it fascinating. If you look here, Washington County is the convergence of three main geographic regions. You got the Colorado Plateau, the Mojave Desert, and then the Great Basin, all come together here in Washington County. And if I zoom in a little bit, I see that little area right there. That's Pine Mountain. And here's an aerial, you can see this, you can see it pretty graphically with the satellite image. You got the Mojave Desert down south, Great Basin up here in the northwest, the Colorado Plateau to the east, and right in the middle, dominating everything, is the Pine Valley Mountains, which is interesting. Pine Valley Mountain is not, I found it's a volcanic, feature called the laccolith. There's over 1,000 species of plants on this, they found on this mountain, making it the most biodiverse mountain in the state of Utah. Just found that interesting. Another thing is topography. Obviously, we're aware of this. It's a 65 by 40 miles, but we start down in the lower left-hand corner, the Beaver Dam Wash at 2,100 feet. And you can see the elevation just increase, 6,800 feet up Pine Mountain, 8,100 feet up at Kolob Terrace, finally getting up to 10,000 feet at Pine Mountain. So we have over 8,000 feet of elevation difference in this county, which is one of the greatest elevation differences of any county in the country. Climate, as you know, and these are all kind of intertwined. Obviously, if we have a lot of different elevation, we're going to have differences. We're going to have a lot of climate. There's 5 different climate zones, recognized climate zones in our county. And finally, migration. If you look at the different flyways as birds migrate, they tend to follow 4 different migratory pathways. Well, if you look, Washington County is right on the boundary of two different flyways. So we can get birds coming up the Pacific Flyway and coming up the Central Flyway. So I'm an engineer. I try to get everything down to math. So you got geologic convergence plus varied topography plus multiple climate zones and different flyways. You're going to get amazing and diverse habitat and birds. They just, again, I think that we have over 400 species of birds seen in this county. The next nearest county is about 320, 330 in the state of Utah. So it's amazing diversity here. I'm going to zoom in on Snow Canyon. I highlighted it here. You can see this red band. I'm not a geologist. This is just what I've observed, but it seems like the red rock is the transitional areas between geologic regions. So you got the Mojave down here, and then as it's going up to the Great Basin, you get the red rock, and you can see it over on the right too, the Snow Canyon, or as Zion Canyon comes down in the Mojave. But Snow Canyon is right in the middle of the transition zone between the Mojave and the Great Basin. So even in that 5-mile drive, I guess about 5 miles from the base of Snow Canyon up to the, what do you call it, Red Mountain Trailhead up there, you'll see different birds. Birds completely, I'll be down and I see a bird, I know I'm in the Mojave. If I drive 5 miles, I see a different bird, I know I'm in the Great Basin. That's how much variation we have just within that Snow Canyon drive. We've seen 143 different species of birds have been recorded in Snow Canyon. At least 143. That's what we know of. They're the people that have actually documented. And I'll show at the end of the presentation. I'll show you how we know that. So I'm just going to go through and just start sharing some birds that you guys might see, and I'm going to start with some of the more popular ones. I think we've all seen this driving around town, the greater roadrunner, actually a member of the cuckoo family. If you look down here in the bottom, I've got this Greater Zion logo. As I go through these pictures and you see this Greater Zion logo, what that means is this area is the only place in the state of Utah where you can see this bird, because we're the northernmost stretch of the Mojave Desert here in the state. And so this roadrunner, you'll find it in the canyon of Snow Canyon, but you won't find it at the top of the plateau of Snow Canyon, because that's the Great Basin up there. It's down here in the Mojave Desert. Or I should say, you could see it, but as you get further away from the Mojave, these birds won't be seen. I think you've all seen the quail running around here. These are called Gambel's quail. A lot of people, if you're from northern Utah and you see quail, you automatically think California quail. We do not have any California quail in the county. Those are northern birds. What we have here is the Gambel's quail, and you can tell them apart if you look on this. The Gambel's quail has that rufous, so that reddish head, whereas a California quail will have a dark, black head. This is another common bird that you probably see, mainly because it's large. It's larger than a robin. It's the woodhouse scrub jay. Pretty common in this whole area, all throughout in the Intermountain region. However, if you go up above Snow Canyon into the Red Mountain Trail area, you can get another type of jay called the pinyon jay. Typically, you'll hear these birds before you see them. They flock together, anywhere flocks from 20 to 100, and they are loud. They're constantly squawking. They move around quite a bit. But again, you'll find this on the upper elevations. You will not find this bird down below. And you can understand why, simply because of its name, pinyon. They need pinyon pine. And they're not down in the lower elevations of Snow Canyon, only in the upper elevations. Common birds you're going to see all throughout town, mourning dove. I like to point out the way it's spelled. Many people think it's morning as in welcome to a new day, but it's mourning as in lamenting. And it gets its name because of its sound. It's got a very sad coo. It just seems like it's crying. And so it's a mourning dove. What you may also see is another type of dove called the Eurasian collar dove. And you'll see these all through town and a little bit into the canyon. And I wanted to bring this up because 10 years ago, 15 years ago, if you saw this bird, it'd be a rare bird alert. People from all over the state would come if you saw this bird. Now they're everywhere. These were introduced into Florida about 20, 30 years ago, and they have spread like crazy through the country, all the way up into Canada now, probably into Alaska by now. But they're different than the mourning doves. They're invasive. They actually kick out the mourning doves. And you can tell them apart. They're a little bigger, a little wider, and they have little black, you can see it in a couple of these little half black collar on the back of their neck. But these birds, you'll see them, they are not native to our area. Another common, easy to see bird, typically if you see a raptor like this, it's going to be a red-tailed hawk. When you can see the tail, it's very easy. You see that red tail. If you're looking from underneath, sometimes you can't see that red tail. So the way you can tell them apart is it's on the leading edge, right? I don't know if you can see my mouse, but on the leading edge of its wing, it's got those dark leading edges, and then it's got a dark belly band. And the other one that you'll see beginning here the next month or two, all through the summer, is a turkey vulture. And you'll see them flying around. They go down south into Central America during the winter as they come up in the summer. And so a lot of people, it's hard to tell them apart. However, I'll give you one clue. I put this picture of this juvenile here. We know it's juvenile because it doesn't have its red head yet. But as you're looking at a bird, a raptor flying, or you think is a raptor, large bird soaring, if you look at this turkey vulture, it's got kind of a V-shaped wing. If you see the wings kind of up like this, and then a turkey vulture always flies like it's trying to gain its balance, a little wobbly. So look for the wobble and the wings up in the little V formation. You can tell from a distance that's the turkey vulture. If the wings are straight out, it's either a hawk or an eagle. That's how you can tell them apart. So we're just going to go through and just look at some of the more common birds, starting with our sparrows. Believe it or not, there's about 4 or 5 different sparrows species that you can see in the canyon. And we call them LBJs, little brown jobbers, because if you don't have binoculars, they all look the same. These little grayish brown birds flying around, you can't tell them apart. But when you actually get a pair of binoculars on them and the colors come out and the markings, this is a very handsome bird. That dark, rich, gray head with that dark chin, throat, black-throated sparrow. Another one is the black chin sparrow. This is one that can only be found here in the Mojave Desert. This is the only place, this county is the only place you can find it in the state. And then this one right here is the rufous crown sparrow. And what's interesting is this is actually if you see one, it's considered a rare bird alert, but they're common, not common, but I know where to go to see these. there's just a few places in the county where these are regular, where you can actually, if somebody wants to come and see a Rufous Crowned Sparrow, I would take them to Snow Canyon. I'm not sure the name. There's as you go past the sand dunes, there's that trailhead up to the left. And then there's, as you go along the trail, along the cliffs, there's some water tanks that are kind of buried. Just up along that cliffside is where you find the Rufous Crowned Sparrow. Towhees is a type of sparrow. This is our most common here. It's found all throughout the West. The spotted towhee is a beautiful bird, red eye, orange breast, black. The males are very dark black. The females are a gray back. But we have other types of towhees here also. My screen isn't moving. There it is right there. The green-tailed towhee. This is a little secretive one. You actually almost have to make a call. They're very secretive. They don't like to be seen. But in the mornings, especially around manzanita or other low scrub, they like to pop up and sing. But it's got a beautiful green tail, olive green, a rufous, bright rufous red head. And again, if you just look at quickly, you don't see that color. But if you get binoculars on them, you can really see the color. The other type of towhee is the Hebert's towhee, and this is one that you hear before you see because they're scratching on the ground. That they usually don't come up high, but they're down kicking the leaves, going under the bushes. It's a brown. It's got a little orangish red under the tail, and a little black mask in the front. So 3 types of towhees that you can see here in the canyon. I'm going to show you some wrens. We're all familiar with the term wren. We have several different kinds of wrens, and they're pretty ubiquitous. The Buick's wren, you can tell this one apart from other wrens because it's got that white eye stripe. This is the one I think you're all familiar with. And I didn't do a close-up of this one because this is how you mostly see this, the rock wren, just hopping around on rocks. I'm bringing up my phone here to get ready for, but what's interesting is this wren and let's see, this wren, the canyon wren, occupy the same habitat. The difference is the canyon wren has a little longer bill and can get into the crevices. It feeds in the crevices where the rock wren feeds on top of the rocks. I have a little sound here. I'm going to play it. I'm gonna have to hold it up to my speaker. I couldn't get it to go through the computer. But if you've done any hiking in the canyon, I think you will recognize this song. I don't know if you could hear that or not. Give me a thumbs up if you could hear that through my.
It sounded great, Paul.
Yeah.
It's that that's a very common call as you're walking through the canyons. They just echo. That's a canyon wren, little small bird making all that noise. But so just listen for it next time you're out hiking or walking through the canyons. Listen for that canyon wren call. Another bird that's small, that just looks gray, you wouldn't even notice anything, is the verdin. But it's an incredibly beautiful bird. It's got that yellow face. And if you've walked along the trails and you look up in the tree and you see like a little bulb about this big, looks like a nest, a hanging nest, that's the verdin. They make them in these they build these beautiful little hanging nests. And I'm going to kind of cheat a little bit here to show you some beautiful birds. According to the data, these aren't common in the park, but they're all around the park. The Bullock's oriole, the hooded oriole, and the Scott's oriole. Again, the Scott's oriole, the only place you can see it is down here in the Mojave Desert, but they've been seen all around and several times in the park, but not common. But keep your eyes open. They're very distinct birds. They're beautiful. I'm having trouble with my, let's see here. Loggerhead shrike. Many people, many experts want to define these birds in the raptor family. You can see the one on the right has an insect in it, but these birds are incredible hunters. They'll get rats or mice, large insects. They'll grab them with their claws, and then they will fly to thorns or to barbed wire fences and then impale them on the fence to kill them. So they catch live prey. That's why a lot of people want to consider and use their claws. That's why a lot of people want to consider these birds as raptors. Chrysal thrasher, another bird unique to the Mojave Desert. Beautiful. It's about the size, a little bigger than a robin. They're down low, but they pop up and they got that half moon bill. They're pretty common, that trail I talked about between there and the campground. This is a very common bird. You hear it all over town. The Say's phoebe. They're the ones flying around, perching, going down, catching bugs. It's considered a flycatcher. Another flycatcher you'll see is the ash-throated flycatcher. We have some woodpeckers you can see in there. The ladder-backed woodpecker is your most common. It's got its name simply because you can see those horizontal stripes on its back. The males have the red head, the females do not. We also have the red-naped sapsucker, is common. Look around in the campgrounds and where there's clusters of trees, you'll find the red-naped sapsucker. We have the black-chinned hummingbird, common throughout Utah in the summer. And then we have the Costas hummingbird, the purple, it's smaller, has a beautiful, like a beard, like a purple beard. They're common up, you can see those up in the canyon too during the summer months. Yellow-rumped warbler. My kids call these the butterbutts, and they have a lot of variation. I mean, some of them don't have yellow, some on the sides, on the throat, but they all have a yellow patch on their rear end, on their butts as they fly. That's why my kids call them the butterbutts. A lot of people do. If you see a bluish or grayish bird flying, and as it flies, you look away and see a little a yellow spot, a patch on the back between the wings, you know it's a yellow-rumped warbler. And then one of the most incredible birds you can find is the white-throated swift in the summertime. It looks like a swallow. They have stiffer wing beats, and I want to share something with you. I'm going to share my screen right here. All right, can everybody see this? During migration, this is a video we took, I think in October, early October. During migration, these birds, they roost together at night. And if you go up Johnson Canyon at evening, just before sunset, and you wait and you look at this, there's a spot there, you just wait and you look up, and you'll start to see these swifts by the hundreds just start circling around way up in the above, way up. You can hear them. They're hard to see, but then something happens just after sunset, and all these, a switch turns on, and all these birds decide it's time to go in and roost. And this is what you'll see. Can you see them coming in?
Yeah, the video is real good.
That crack's only about 2 or 3 inches wide. And so they'll come in by the hundreds, and they do it in about less than 5 minutes, but they'll just be, and the sound, it sounds like a race car zooming by your head, zoom, 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 zoom. And it is an incredible spectacle. But that happens during the fall migration. As they're flocking north, they roost. They have roosts along the route. Actually, they're going south. But I believe, well, this is the reason why they closed Johnson Canyon during the summer months, because of the white-throated swifts are nesting in the canyon. I'll go back to my presentation. And this is the last bird I wanted to show. One of your, just one of the best. We have peregrine falcon nesting up along the cliffs. A lot of times you can look around. I'm not the good enough, but if you look on cliff ledges, you can see the whitewash from the droppings of birds. You know, we have some owls, we have raptors. You can tell the peregrine falcon perches simply by the way how the droppings look. I'm not good enough to tell the difference yet, but this is the fastest animal on earth. It can get speeds up to almost 200 miles and it's 200 miles an hour in its dive. But beautiful birds that you can see in the canyon. So, you know, that is just a quick tour of Snow Canyon. And as I said, what's the best way to learn about birding? If you're interested in learning more, people ask me why I enjoy birding. And I say it's because it just gets me outside. It's one of the best. You can bird anywhere in the world. It takes you to some of the most beautiful places. If you want to go look for birds, you just have to get off the beaten path sometimes. You get to see things other people don't see. But it's just always interesting to see what birds are going to show up and what, you know, and you never stop learning about them. So I would encourage everybody, you know, look at our website, redcliffsaudubon.org. We do weekly bird walks, which are free. Occasionally we go into the canyon. We do monthly field trips. These are free also. And just if you're interested, Red Cliff, we have a bird festival we do last week of April every year. This year it's the 28th through the 30th. We send out tours all through the county. We actually have a tour going inside the park with permission from the park. We're taking a shuttle bus in there, and you know, you'll be able to go and see all these different birds we talked about. And then I want to tell you, how do we gather all this data about birds? What's the best way to learn about birds, or how to find where the birds are? It's something called eBird. And I'm going to share my let's see, guess Google Chrome. Let's see. All right, can everybody see that? This website?
Yep.
eBird.org. All right, so the best way to describe this, there's over 700,000 users of eBird. It's an app on your phone. And imagine all these birders going out, and every time they bird, they say, I'm at this location, and these are the birds I've seen, and how many. And then they have this massive database. And so if I go and click this button right here, Explore, this is what comes up. And I can enter in a region like a county, or I can click right here. It's called Hotspots. And each one of these dots is a different birding location that's been recorded throughout the world. And as you zoom in, that over here, you can see if it's really dark red, over 300 species, all the way down to 0 to 15. I'm just going to click on, here's all the hotspots just in our little area right here. And I think you can see, you know, notice that's, this is St. George. Over here to the left, you have Lytle Ranch Preserve. It's probably one of the premier birding areas in the state. Over 278 different species have been seen. It's out in the middle of nowhere. You drive 11 miles on a dirt road, and it's down in this little valley that has the only year-round running water for miles, and just this green oasis in the middle of the Mojave Desert. And it's a bird magnet. But if I come right here to Snow Canyon, I can see that there's been 670 checklists recorded. My guess is there's been 10 times that many people going birding there, but only 670 recorded checklists. And of that, they have seen 143 different species recorded. I'm going to look at my bar charts here. Come on, computer. There we go. So as you can see down here, it's going to list the 143 species that have been seen. And then you can see by month, you go across here, and the bigger the bar, the more likely you are to see that bird here in Snow Canyon. So as you can see here, the white-throated swift, we can see March through October, but not in the winter months. Same with the black-chinned hummingbird. It's a summer bird. Gambel's quail, though, I can see year-round. Anna's hummingbird, I can see year-round. The Costa's just in the summer. But you can get an idea. So if I'm a birder and I'm going somewhere in the world, I can just pull up this eBird and I can, say, hey, what am I likely to see here at this location at this time of year? But you can see all the different birds that have been seen. Here's the scrub jay. Remember I talked about the pinyon jay. It's not as easy to see. You got to go to, because my guess is not many people bird in the upper elevations. They're all mostly down in the canyon. But, rock wren and canyon wren, very common. The Buick's wren. All these different species of birds. Most of you see those white crowned sparrows. They have those little white stripes on their head. Again, they're winter birds here. In the summer, they disappear. In Oregon, it's interesting. In Oregon, it's reverse. They're summer birds. In the winter, they disappear. So I'm going to go back to my presentation. Just wrap it up here. One thing, one of the tours that I'm the tour guide for during the bird festival is, we call it the big day. We're going to try to see as many species as we can in a single day. Excuse me while I take a drink. And this is what I say about Greater Zion. Where else in the world can you wake up and watch the sunrise come up over the Joshua trees? Then I can have lunch at Snow Canyon in the Red Rocks, and then watch the sunset go down over the top of Zion National Park up at Co-op Terrace. It's a beautiful place we live in, and because of that beauty, we have that beauty provides so much habitat that we get such an incredibly wide variety of birds. And again, if you have questions, redcliffsaudubon@gmail.com or redcliffsaudubon.org, you're welcome to come join us. And we always say good birding. So thank you so much for letting me come. I'll stop sharing, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have. In fact, I see one question right now. I thought I saw a small flock of 6 snow geese 2 days ago in Snow Canyon. Do they migrate through here? Yes, they do. I've seen snow geese every year. You get them coming. It's interesting. You go up to Delta right now, and you'll see them by the thousands as they migrate north. But we'll get just a handful. I was not only do you see snow geese, I've seen a group about 5 flying around. It might have been the same group. You may have noticed one of them was much smaller. It was a white goose that was much smaller. That is a Ross's goose. So there's also been a Ross goose, which is even more rare than the snow goose, flying around the county the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, I didn't notice a smaller one.
Okay, but yeah, good. You were right. It's snow geese.
Cool.
We get them every year, but not in big numbers. Just a handful, 3 or 4 here, and they're usually flying through, migrating. Let's see. Lila asked, "Is it unusual to have costas in the winter?" I'm going to say yes and no. 10 years ago, I'd say absolutely yes. I think what's happening is we're seeing more and more of them. My father-in-law, my in-laws, I guess my parents, both of them, mother-in-law and father-in-law, they have a house right on the border. Their backyard is the Red Cliffs Desert Preserve up at Green Springs. They put out bird feeders, hummingbird feeders. They get acostas year-round, almost daily in the winter. As birds learn more and more about bird feeders and hummingbird feeders, I think they're getting to the point like, well, why migrate? I got my food right here. to stick around. So bird habitat is changing, and the birds are adapting because of it. So, we are seeing more costas in the winter, and I think it's because more people have feeders up to feed them.
Paul, I have the Costas daily here in St. George in Sun River, and they share the Hummer feeder with the ruby crown kinglet and
Yeah.
the verdin. The verdin is totally stunning. And the yesterday morning when it was cloudy, the Costas was just brilliant. The magenta, it's not even magenta, it was more purple. It was brilliant.
Yeah. Costas are purple, Annas are pink, kind of the dark pink all over their head. But yeah, your Costas, again, 10 years ago, yes, it'd be unusual. More and more, it is not. Like I said, my father-in-law, if you have feeders up or nearby, you'll see them through the year now. Canada geese is another one. They used to not see them in the summers. But more and more, they're staying further south in the summer because they're like, hey, this grass is great. Why go up north when I can just eat the grass here? So a small number of Canada geese are here year round.
We have here in Sun River, we have the 4 to 5 snow geese that travel with the Canada geese. They usually,
bet,
of course, they hang out on the golf course, which of course is lovely. It's green, and then plus there's plenty of water, etc. So they're a regular here every winter.
Nothing golfers like more than dodging goose poop on the golf course. Yeah, but it's fun. Yeah, you look at this time of year. Look at flocks of geese flying by. You just think it's Canada geese. I've seen multiple times. You'll see one little white goose stuck flying with them. Snow goose just tags along. All right. Any more questions? All right.
Great.
Just want to thank you for a great presentation.
Oh, you
I
bet.
agree,
Go
Don.